Mr. President. My bridge was referenced quite a bit today, so I just want to clarify it is, in fact, a bridge to nowhere because it leads to Minnesota. But is an important public project, so I appreciate the Joint Finance Committee for funding that. And I just want to go over just a couple things in the budget, because if I have any constituents at home that watch this debate today, I hope they didn't. They are getting painted a picture that is just not true. And frankly, there are a lot of wins in this budget for everyone in this room, so I'm so surprised how willing some of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle are willing to walk away from this. But I want to highlight for at least my constituents what this does. And I want to thank as well the Joint Finance Committee members. I know you stayed extra weekends, long hours, never even had time to come share a beer with us after session because you were putting in the time. So thanks for all you do. Just to touch on some of the things we heard today, and I had it listed out what I wanted to talk about, and I keep adding to it because the rhetoric I hear, broken promises, we're going to face consequences, it's a failure, the budget was gutted, slash and burn, generational harm. And these adjectives or comments don't describe anywhere near what this budget does. You would think we cut spending. We didn't. It's almost $100 billion. We didn't cut spending. So district specific for me, when I break down the numbers, the shared revenue package is almost $15 million plowed back into my local communities to fund roads, bridges, infrastructure, police, snowplow, etc., to catch them up from the inflationary pressures they see. I think we're going to have close to about $20 million in education funding that'll go directly into our schools. Obviously, that's going to change with enrollments in the 3-year rolling average. But just the per pupil categorical, not even including special ed, high-cost transportation, all the other areas we funded are not included in that number. So it is a big boost. And my districts are saying thank you. They're not saying it's peanuts. They're not saying it's a cut. And they knew the minute the governor introduced the budget, $2.6 billion was never realistic. So I would actually talk to your superintendents, because none of them actually thought they were going to get what you're trying to propose again here today. They funded the LaPointe Harbor Commission. So in my district, the ferry from Madeline Island to Bayfield can continue to exist. Joint Finance was able to slip in funds for the tribal tax issues we have in my district, preventing some of my local jurisdictions basically from potentially going bankrupt due to a federal court ruling. It funds the meat and dairy processor grants that would, again, stabilizes and bolsters our local food economies, which is very important in northern Wisconsin. It funds the Eau Claire Science Building, which I was a part of a working group with some of my colleagues in this body and also in the Assembly to raise awareness of the importance of that. And that is finally going to get built, and it's in partnership with Mayo Clinic. So we will have students in Wisconsin training with the best doctors in the world on campus, on a UW campus in Eau Claire, and I'm excited about that. The budget funds the veterinary diagnostic lab in Barron. That lab is aging, it needs to be upgraded, and it's going to have expanded capacity so we can react in real time when the avian bird flu breaks out and potentially devastates our poultry industry. The Allied Health Professional Training grants for $5 million were added to the budget. The budget also funded my legislation along with Representative Oldenburg for the Pre-Disaster Flood Resiliency Program. We are one of the first states in the country now that are going to fundamentally change how we address issues with erosion from flooding. Instead of constantly putting the same culvert in, the same bridge in, the same road in, we're going to go upstream and find solutions and fund it to prevent this from happening over and over again. Good for the environment, good for taxpayers. We're finally upgrading our fish hatcheries, both in Brule and the Les Voigt hatchery in Bayfield. Both of them are operating at 30% capacity right now, and they have been that way for 12 years because no one will ask a question on how they're operating. So I happened to tour it one day. They told me that we're operating facilities, wasting taxpayer dollars, being at 30%. And this budget funds upgrades, again, to bolster the importance of our fishing and hatchery industry in the state. There's a whole list. That's why I don't know why you don't like this budget. It funds state parks. So Amnicon Falls, Pattison Park is going to get upgrades in my district. It funds the forestry industry-wide strategic plan to make sure that our forestry industry is not only strong today, but decades in the future, because it's a huge employer for our district. And we know that our mills can go anywhere. We're not the only state with trees and wood, so we want them to stay here. JFC funded another $20 million boost for tourism for marketing, which is huge. Every dollar we spend in tourism is money we're going to collect back at some point. And again, it funds the Blatnick Bridge, $400 million investment, matching what Minnesota is doing to make sure that project stays on time. And they also funded the legislation I worked with Representative Vandermeer on for attraction and retention for veterans, which I'm pretty excited about. We want every veteran that gets out of the service to know that Wisconsin wants them, and we want them here. Just higher level again, $525 million for the affordable housing bills package. Bipartisan effort. Bipartisan funding, I hope. You have to vote yes. Don't go home and take credit if you're not a yes on the budget. But $525 million to increase affordable housing capacity in every one of your communities across the state. Don't say no to that. $195 million for nursing homes. Especially in northern Wisconsin, it's very tough to find personal care workers that will work in those facilities. Having a reimbursement rate that's fair to pay them a fair wage is extremely important. $41 million for mental health services. $1.5 billion. We heard the senator, I'm so bad with numbers, the chair of Joint Finance, talk about $1.5 billion into infrastructure and local roads. 150, the 17th, senator from the 17th. $150 million specifically in ARIP, Agricultural Road Improvement Program, which will send dollars directly to the roads that our milk trucks go up and down and our log trucks go up and down. Largest tax cut in state history, and I'm glad we're finally getting to PPT. I just met with a resort owner last weekend, and he is actually taxed on the logs that fall on his property. The state of Wisconsin counts trees that fall down, logs on his resort, as personal property. How insane is that? And we get a chance to get rid of that stupid tax today. So I'll just try to wrap up. This was a compromise. There's things in there that I didn't get. I did get a lot. My joint finance budget buddy was a rock star. We got a lot for our district, needed investments, but there are things that I don't agree with too. I wish we would not have cut the county conservation staff funding. I don't know why we didn't fund the Office of School Safety. I don't know why we didn't fund the engineering building. I support the engineering building. But the point is, this is a compromise. None of us gets everything we want. And I will just say the offering of amendments by the other side, we got them today. There's 1,521 pages that we got when we went to the floor at 1 o'clock. So I don't know how sincere that was. But I want to end on a bipartisan note. I worked on a bill with a senator from, Diane, what's your district? 27th. So we worked on a great bill. The Assembly screwed it up. We actually had to pass it again today. And I got a chance to meet her husband. He was very nice. And he had a quote that stuck with me when we passed that bill. And he said, Romaine, you got to get this bill done right now. Don't let perfect get in the way of good. You got to do the bill right now. Don't let perfect get in the way of good. So I will listen to Bob, and I encourage you all the same. Don't let perfect get in the way of good. This is a good budget, and I hope you'll join with the majority and vote for it. Thank you.